Okay, welcome. I am so excited to be sharing this topic. I often tease that I'm a gut nerd because I think that there's so much hope. We can definitely, be struggling with our health when we're not feeling well, and there's such a root cause to that. Typically, it's either in our brain or in our gut, and they're connected. So I'm excited to be sharing some more about that today, and hopefully this will start. Okay. So health starts in your gut. And it's interesting because, so often we think about, the body, just in one area. So it definitely starts in the gut, but it affects so many other things in our body. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about just the wild and new environment that we are discovering in our gut. So this is actually really funny because our gut is actually our second brain. It's possibly the most important one because it's 1,000 times louder than our brain. And they really started discovering this as of 2012. So this is really all these discoveries are changing how medicine is practiced. The microbiota is this complex world that is all of the gut bacteria and other things that live in our gut. And most people think of it as just beneficial bacteria, right? Well, it's so much more than that. It's this complex world that helps make vitamins for us, digests our food, regulates hormones and cholesterol, detoxes us, creates serotonin and neurotransmitters, and so much more. And I want to kind of start by sharing my family story and why I'm even interested in this. My family, poor things, have experienced some form of gut imbalance, all of us. And I really started taking notice when it had gotten so bad for my son that he wasn't making eye contact. He had a lot of eczema and food allergies. He wasn't meeting developmental milestones, and I was super concerned for him. So I actually flew him. I was one of those crazy moms. I, got on the internet and I found a specialist, and I flew him to see this specialist in Baton Rouge. She had her MD, her naturopathic degree, and her degree in physical chemistry, so 3 doctorates. And it was really important for me to have that wide opinion because I was pre-med in college and experienced my own health crash in my 20s and didn't get any answers until I actually went and sought out a consult from a naturopathic doctor. So I wanted to be sure that, what he was getting was well-rounded advice. And the advice that she gave me really changed our lives. And I'll share a little bit more about that as we go on. But my daughter, she is on the left. My middle daughter has been like the picture of health. She was never on antibiotics like Gabe was. She like eats everything. She's super amazing. And because I had shifted what I was doing in terms of my gut health, having learned what I did from the specialist that I saw with my son, my littlest, she's so amazing. She's such a miracle, and I'll at some point share her story too. But my husband was dealing with a lot of different aches and pains and issues with his gut. So we all have our own experiences with any level of gut health. And I'll get into that a little bit more. But so this journey of mine started by necessity and now has become a passion because there's so much we can do. So let's start with looking at the gut. It's a megamembrane. It's actually, our megamembrane starts with our nose and ends with our exit. It's all connected, and it's 1 cell thick. It's like half of a human hair in thickness, which I sometimes think is a bad design because we're exposed to the environment in such a, small barrier. But that's the job of our microbiome, to protect that small barrier with this, mucosal world that all of our good beneficial bacteria live in. And there should be this nice tight junction between all of those cells. So these little finger-like cells are called enterocytes, and they are what's between us and our bloodstream, basically our megamembrane, and getting into our bloodstream. So when we're looking at the gut, we've got this tight junction. These little finger-like protrusions help digest starches and foods and break it down. I wish there was a thicker, there's 2 layers, basically that mucosal barrier that has all those wonderful beneficial bacteria. that helps, in that complex world. So what happens when that complex world gets compromised, whether or not we take an antibiotic, stress, environmental toxins that wear away, food sensitivities, all of those sorts of things wear that mucosal barrier down, pathogens, yeasts, parasites, things like that. The gap junction can be compromised. And so when that happens, now these pathogens are leaking into the bloodstream. So that's where we see food allergies. Food is undigested foods getting into the bloodstream. The body's recognizing it as an invader. So hope that kind of gives you a picture of what we're talking about. And then we're going to share some things that we can do. If you are having any of these symptoms, there's a lot of hope. And I think a lot of people, lose hope and think this is just how it is. I'm just going to be ill. There is a lot of hope. So general signs of leaky gut are weakened immune system, general or seasonal allergies, nutritional deficiencies, joint pain and arthritis, chronic fatigue, food allergies, skin rash. More severe signs are things like rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's and IBS, Hashimoto's, diabetes, celiac, lupus, PCOS. Brain-related symptoms can be mood imbalances, attention issues, depression, brain fog, anxiety, OCD. And more deeper neurological symptoms can be things like multiple sclerosis, headache, migraine, autism spectrum disorders, fibromyalgia, Alzheimer's, and neuropathy. Okay, so how does this happen? Let's look at a couple of things. So medication alone, that's a typo there, can do a lot of things, right? So we see, like in the middle picture here, there's different ways that our gut gets colonized with those, those good soldiers, if you will. When we are born, we don't have any microbes. And so when we are born through vaginal delivery, we get all of those microbes from mom through the vaginal delivery. If we are born C-section, we're getting exposed to microbes through what's, on the doctor's hands or, in the environment and things like that. Diet plays a big role. This whole sanitary thing, back in the 50s, it was cleanliness is next to godliness, and everything being sanitized all the time is a good thing. It's helped, take disease rates down on some levels, but it's also minimized our exposure to good beneficial bacteria. So getting out in the dirt isn't a bad thing. Medications really compromise the microbiota. Lifestyle and managing stress compromises it, and DNA and genetics can compromise it as well. And dysbiosis is when there's a imbalance in good bacteria versus bad. You can have some bad bacteria, but you need to have more good bacteria kind of fighting that off. It's not about being perfect, but when you're out of balance, it's called dysbiosis. So one of the things I just wanted to mention, because I thought this was super fascinating, and I have been on every single one of these medications in my life, and it's no wonder my gut was so out of whack. Penicillins allow bacteria found in the bowel to move up into the intestines. Tetracyclines alter the protein structure in the gut wall, causing the immune system to attack the gut. Mycins completely wipe out good E. coli, leaving individuals more susceptible to the bad strains that we're exposed to through food. Steroids almost always equal a fungal overgrowth, and we don't even think about taking a probiotic when we're taking a steroid. And contraceptive pills are devastating to the gut. So unfortunately, a lot of us are exposed to different ones of these throughout our lifetime. And it's important to know that 70% of our immune cells reside in the GI tract. So if our gut's off, our immune's off. And I thought this was fascinating. 3/4 of the body's neurotransmitters are produced in the gut too. So if our gut's off, our brain's off. And then I have this, hopefully you guys can see, I'm kind of chasing this little window here around, but this gal here, it says, they actually discovered that obesity is very tied to dysbiosis. And they've discovered this through mice, where they can take a microbe blank mouse and transfer an overweight mouse microbiome to this mouse, and it becomes overweight. And similar with the skinny microbiome, the mouse will be skinny. So it was interesting discovery, but they're seeing more and more research in people that if we get our microbiome balanced, we won't have propensity to being overweight. So that's exciting. But there is this challenge, right? Because that microbiome, that gut brain, is 1,000 times louder than our brain. So when we are in dysbiosis, it says, check this guy for dysbiosis stat. Like he is shoving the cheeseburger in his mouth. It's almost like eat that donut or I'm going to die. And that's how you feel when your microbiome is shouting and it's in dysbiosis. It's leading you to poorer food choices. Okay, so looking at this whole body type thing. So in my 20s, in this health crash, this is my little brother, actually, this is even before kids. I was struggling. I was about 35 pounds overweight, maybe even 40 pounds overweight. And I was exhausted. And so, I was kind of in this, like, this is my early medical studies. And I was like, my aunts are overweight, but my mom is really thin. So do I have my aunt's genetics somehow? Just kind of in this question, like, what's happening to me, right? Because I never had struggled with weight before. So it was interesting as I learned more about gut health and my body became into balance. It was, I really saw that it wasn't about genetics. It's more about the choices and kind of what we're passed down with. So for my mom, she was not breastfed. She had a little bit of an altered microbiome. She had some seasonal allergies, excuse me. And so with her altered microbiome that then I got as through birth and exposure and contact, mine progressed where I had actual food allergies and deeper allergies. And my gut was even more compromised. And then with my son, not having done some of the work that I'll show you in a second, he was even more compromised, and he was actually looking like he had autism. So he had more developed, it goes from, more seasonal allergies, deeper food allergies, to brain issues when the brain is really under attack. And it was interesting because when we fixed all of those things, then Mia comes out with, none of those same issues. So that's where I'm just kind of, it's not your parents' fault. It's not your genetics' fault, but there's a lot that we can do. And there's a lot that we are up against from what we inherit, but we can do a lot about it. So in terms of genes, it's so exciting now because, again, more research, right? We understand, we've mapped the whole human genome. It says, when I asked, what we were made of, I was hoping he would say sugar and spice, and now he's, mapping the whole human genome for them. We understand what genes, turn on good genes, turn off bad genes, and that we are not, if we have a propensity for cancer and diabetes in our family, we can turn off those bad genes and not pass them on to our kids. So this is so exciting because genetics don't necessarily rule our destiny. And there is this very exciting study of epigenetics that you can look more into if you're a nerd like me. But I just like to say that I'm a mom on a mission to educate people because, again, there's a lot we can do. And there's a lot of the disease rates that we're up against that are skyrocketing, but it's a choice. So first of all, we are what we eat. When I do this class, I have people guess, this is a small orange soda. How many packets of sugar in this small orange soda? Excuse me, frog in my throat today. And it's kind of fun because most people are shocked that there are 22 packets of sugar in this small bottle of orange soda. And we really, sugar, refined carbs, hydrogenated oils, processed food chemicals, all of those things have a devastating effect on our microbiota. So we really are what we eat, and we need to kind of choose wisely. I'm going to pick on sugar for just a second because not only does it feed those pathogenic yeasts and other things, but we are just consuming so much more as a society than we ever did. Back in the turn of the century, it was maybe 4 pounds a year. They're guesstimating now that it's like either between 150 to, now recently I've heard 250 pounds of sugar per person a year. That's a huge difference than what we used to be. And it's hidden in so many things: sauces, salad dressings. It's not just like, sodas or, sweets that we're thinking. It's hidden in crackers. It's all over the place. And the problem, and this is, it is a perpetual cycle. So it's a very addictive. Processed sugar is super addictive. It's very hard to digest. It's processed 27 times, including bleaching. It paralyzes the immune system because the body goes, I don't even know what that is. That's not a food. And then it acts like a drug in our body. So that definitely something to kind of understand, but I'm not totally all bad news, because the right sweeteners can have health benefits. Molasses is actually really high in minerals, and we definitely get mineral depleted. And then there, unprocessed sugar, things like coconut sugar, stuff like that, even sucanat, sugarcane natural, is juiced and dried sugarcane. That's okay. Our body can recognize that. So we can do baking with other things and kind of have our cake and eat it too and not feel guilty. And that fiber kind of, adding fiber slows that insulin from spiking, having things that are slow releasing sweets into our system. But healthy foods are whole foods. And I love this image because it really shows, this is on the left-hand side, what the body needs for building a healthy cell. And a whole grain has all of the things that a cell needs to build this healthy cell. I mean, we need a wide variety of foods, right? But refined grains, this is just an example. And I know grains, some people are like, oh, no grains, but we could talk all day long about that. I just love this example. So when you're thinking about, so my son, being a super picky eater, was just wanting like all the beige foods, right? The processed grains. And, he was building kind of junk cells for himself. And so I love this illustration, and it's so important because we really, again, our bodies, our cells are made up of what we are eating. And every day is a new opportunity to build a new body, because the exciting part is that our body rebuilds itself. Most of it rebuilds itself within a year. So there are some things that are really quick. Our skin rebuilds itself in a month. Our brain, most of our brain in a year. Blood cells, it takes blood, to recirculate and have, really amazing nutrient dense blood, is about 4 months, but then it starts going and building new organ systems and all kinds of stuff. So lungs regenerate themselves within 2 to 3 weeks, a lot of the cells in the lungs. So it's just exciting. There's a lot we can do to build healthier bodies. At this point, I usually get, okay, so food, what do we need to be eating? Is organic important? Well, I want to say yes, it is important, but it's again, not about perfection, right? It's I think important to avoid the dirty dozen, which are the highest in pesticides. And pesticides are linked to things like leukemia and Parkinson's disease, and a lot more. But we can do things like, buy the Clean 15 non-organic, and you can just Google this if you need this list, or I can send it to you. But it is just a good, do your best. It's not about perfection, and these things are inexpensive, non-organic, and they're safe. So that's my answer to that. One thing I will say for sure, you have to be eating organic wheat products, because glyphosate is actually, being linked. It's really interesting that a lot of the gut issues are on the rise because of the use of glyphosate in our products. And wheat is one of the highest ones. So Cheerios, even not just wheat products, I would say oat products as well, have high levels of glyphosate, however you want to say it. And that acts like an antibiotic in the gut and definitely contributes to leaky gut. So if you are doing wheat and grain, it needs to be organic. And this is where I'm going to turn it over to Aimee. I'd love for her to share a quick story about her health journey, and then we'll get more into detail as well.
Thanks, April. I love that picture. So I have 2 babies now. That is my son, Hayden. He's now 2. And then I have a daughter, Haley, who's 5 months. And so thankfully my health journey started before our kids. And it was about 4.5 years ago. And I was suffering from chronic neck and head pain. I had been basically since I was about a teenager. Every single day my neck and my head hurt. And I just thought, that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. I'm just going to have to live with pain because I can't get a new neck, was kind of my thought process on that. But when I started to dive into whole food nutrition and what food can do for the body, it just blew my mind. And so I started on this health journey of just really learning what food does for us and how it can heal our bodies. And looking back, I definitely had a lot of gut imbalance. When I was really little, I was sick all the time, so much so that I ended up just getting my tonsils taken out because I was on antibiotic after antibiotic. And so I think that really played a part in the inflammation that I had in my body. So I'm constantly learning, and, I hadn't even heard the words gut health, I don't think, until a few years ago. And ever since then, I've just gotten so passionate about it, and just really learning what a healthy gut can do for us overall. So some really good news is that our microbiome, it changes really fast. Actually, the average lifespan of a bacterium in your microbiome is only about 20 minutes. So you have the opportunity every time you eat to change that population of your gut. And, the good news is that you don't have to just stay on the paleo diet or, all these other diets that are out there, but we can just begin to change our gut microbiome and its genes, like April was talking about, one meal at a time. And you can really achieve a healthy gut very quickly. Even within a few days, things can start to change. So I really like talking about happy bugs, because I have little kids. And so this is a really great way to teach my son about gut health, is talking about bacteria as happy bugs. And basically, we are born 100% human, and we die with 90% of the cells in our bodies not being human, which is crazy to me. And our bacterial DNA outnumbers ours 100 times over. So if you weighed them on a scale, it would be about 5 to 6 pounds, which is, that's a lot. So it's about 100 trillion happy bugs or bugs in our bodies. So are we feeding the good bugs with what we eat or the bad bugs? Like April was talking about earlier, when we make that switch and we start eating healthier foods and we experience dysbiosis, it's that insane craving for like, oh my goodness, I just have to have a cheeseburger right now. But that's the uncomfortable part. It's not always easy to change our gut health, but it's so important. And like I said, it can happen very quickly. So, don't be discouraged if you're like, oh, I need to eat healthier, but it's going to be so hard. Yes, it'll be hard for a little bit, but it gets better. And so our microbiota also shapes our tastes. So you can cleanse your tongue and be sneaky at the same time, which is really exciting, especially for kids. So Harvard says that we have about 100 trillion microorganisms in our gut from more than 500 different species. And so it's not just as simple as taking a probiotic. There are some good probiotics out there, but really where you want to get the majority of your probiotics is in food. So lots of fiber-rich plants. You can sneak so much into smoothies, and that's probably one of my biggest mom hacks. For those of you who don't like sauerkraut, if you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't stand the taste of it, good news is if you sneak like a spoonful into a smoothie, you can't taste it. It's incredibly full of probiotics. I think it's just 2 ounces is more powerful than an entire bottle of probiotics. So I try to sneak sauerkraut into our smoothies often for that reason. And then another way to achieve healthy gut is to spend time outside, eating unprocessed foods as much as possible, plenty of raw fiber-rich plants. Again, you can sneak those into smoothies as well. Avoiding antimicrobial drugs, toxic body care products, exercising, managing stress. I know that's easier said than done, but again, just going outside for a few minutes a day can really help relieve stress. And then eating small amounts of fermented veggies, sauerkraut, kimchi. There's even, pickles out there that have probiotics in them. And then getting an oil change. So taking omega-3s, a good quality coconut oil, and then trying not to eat too late. I know that can be hard sometimes, but the later we eat, the harder it is for our body to digest and rest at night while we're sleeping. So, like I was talking about sauerkraut, anyone who knows me knows I'm a sauerkraut nerd, but that's just because, like I said, it contains 100 times more probiotics than probiotic capsules. So, and it's so much cheaper too. So if you're like, well, I can't afford a good quality probiotic, try sauerkraut. And if you like it, great. If you don't, just try to hide it in foods. And then eventually your taste buds are going to change. And you might find that you actually like eating it by itself. So really exciting about that. And so sauerkraut.
Amy, sorry, I thought it was really interesting because there was a college that found it can help reduce social anxiety, that it is literally changing that gut-brain connection.
Awesome. I love that. I didn't know that. So even more things to love about sauerkraut. That's awesome. I love that. Breast milk. So this is another one that's really exciting to me. As a mom, I've had the privilege of being able to breastfeed both my babies, currently nursing my daughter. And it plays such an important role. Again, if you are able to breastfeed, it's so important important in helping kind of seed the infant microbiome with beneficial bacteria. So really putting this protective coat on their gut, if you will. And a large part of human milk can't be digested by babies and seems to have a purpose quite different from infant nutrition. So that of influencing, I'm trying to read that down there because I remember that was important. That of influencing the composition of the bacteria in the infant's gut. So basically, if you're able to breastfeed, do that because it's very helpful in sealing that baby's gut.
And I thought this was important because that part that's not digestible is actually digested by the microbiome. So it's actually a prebiotic and a probiotic. So there's not only great beneficial bacteria in breast milk, but it's also a prebiotic that's mostly digested by that microbiome. But this is an exciting discovery because they will now be able to add this to things like formula. So people that aren't able to nurse, they can give their babies, more of that healthy benefit that breastfeeding does.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that they're doing that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about fruits and veggies for a second, because when we think about healthy eating, most of the time we're thinking we need to eat our fruits and vegetables, and there's a reason for that. So most people don't really know how many we're supposed to be eating a day. The current recommendation is that 75% of our plate is plants, and it's about 7 to 13 or 9 to 13 servings a day for your average person. But if you're an athlete, it's 16 to 18 servings of fruits and vegetables, and that's something the size of your fist every single day, and it should be in a wide variety. So sometimes that's easier said than done. And I would say if you have an imbalance, if you feel like you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, but you still have an imbalance, you need even more, because it's the anti-inflammatory properties, the polyphenols, all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants in fruits and vegetables that are so very important. And so there are things like prebiotics that we just mentioned that feeds our gut microbiome. So we want to feed what we have because we haven't even discovered all of them. I think that, the most wide variety of probiotic that I've ever seen was 35 different strains, billions of them because they need to be able to survive the digestive tract, but only 35 different strains. But we learned there's so many different strains. So we need to feed what we have with garlic, onions, bananas, asparagus, chicory, dandelion root. There's a lot of different prebiotic foods. You can just Google that. And then probiotics are things like sauerkraut that Aimee mentioned, other fermented veggies, tempeh, kombucha, stuff like that. So, a happy gut is is everything. And it's important to understand that, eating that wide variety of fruits and vegetables will improve cell regeneration and infuse the body with all of those wonderful things that we talked about. But it also can make, over, time, such a different body. And I think that's where it's really important. And we kind of touched on the paleo thing, that when you're eating a lot of different meats and stuff, it can cause a rise in, other bacteria that can influence the good bacteria. So just a wide variety. And I love, there's a wonderful documentary. I think it's, Eat Mostly Plants, Not Too Much. And I can't remember, it's Stephen Pollock, I think. But no one really argues with the fruit and vegetable thing. And I think that's where, when we get confused about different diets out there, should I eat this, should I not? If we are eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, and we're eating other things that are, controversial or whatever, it's not such a big deal. It's just that wide variety of plants that's so important. Okay. And why is that? So something I really wanted to talk about too. Aimee, did you want to share this slide? I thought we talked about you doing this slide, because I thought.
Yeah, I can share this one.
Perfect.
Sure. Yeah, this blows me away every time I look at it. So phytonutrients are found in fruits and vegetables. So in this picture, you can see a multivitamin label. A good quality one probably has about 40 ingredients made up of maybe isolated nutrients or isolated and synthetic nutrients. But in apple, scientists have discovered that there's up to 10,000 ingredients in an apple alone. Right here listed, there's only about 500. And I can't remember, April, how many pages it would take to list.
About 26 to list all of it.
Crazy. And that's just in an apple. So imagine how many phytonutrients are, if you're getting at least 9 to 13 servings a day, think about all those phytonutrients that are going into your body. And that's what's creating synergy. A multivitamin just can't do that. It can't duplicate what nature, what real raw food can do for the body. And so that's just a really great comparison for me in understanding how powerful food is, and what it can do for our gut and just our health in general, honestly.
Yeah, I love that. And we've only discovered 13 vitamins. So even if we isolate it from food, we're missing all the other parts that we haven't discovered in food. And this is the 400 known ingredients in the apple, but they know through, desiccation and all that, that there's all these different compounds that they haven't even named yet. They don't even know what it is. So I love that. Thank you. Okay. So as health coaches, we like to talk about poop. So I always like to put this in there because it's, what's coming out on the other end is a diagnostic in a sense. So, we want to be the cool guy in the middle here, number 4. That's the perfect poop. That's a really good digestive system, right? Oftentimes we've got, as a health coach, I hear constantly, I'm constipated and then I have diarrhea. We're fluctuating back and forth between the other types. Sometimes it's just straight up, number 6 diarrhea. And if you have a lot of floaty things in the toilet, that's a lot of yeast. If you are having, these little pellets that are hard to get out, that's a lot of constipation, obviously. And there's a lot we can do around all of this. So if you have are struggling, please reach out. We'd love to help talk about poop with you. Okay, I'm going to get a dorky shirt someday about poop. Just kidding. Okay, this is where I go. Take it a step back. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Is this like the fire hose of information? And now you're like, oh my gosh, I have to overhaul. No. Just take it one step at a time. We are part of a healthy living revolution. I love this community that I get to be, as my second family. And I love that we have some free resources. So if you go to the healthylivingrevolution.com, and whoever invited you can send you the link, you can get another, fire hose of information through our webinar series. We have all kinds of great ones that are like brain health, hormone balance. Oh my gosh, there was some great ones this month. And that's just, just educate yourself a bit at a time. But then take it the next step and just, maybe one simple change, like adding more water to your body. Maybe cooking a meal that's, all whole foods. We have wonderful e-cookbooks that can help you do that. And so, again, it's not about perfection. It's just one little thing at a time, and that can compound to great changes over time. I want to share a little bit more about my story and talk a little bit more about supplementation. So when I saw that doctor, she really recommended something that I really want to share with you because it did change our life and made some of those changes a lot more simple. And my son, so she shared a supplement with us, and within a couple of weeks, my son was making eye contact, and he was reaching for foods he never would have touched. Like he ate a whole tomato and he asked for more. And I about fell on the floor because in months prior to that, he wouldn't have wanted to touch a tomato because the seed, the texture, the sliminess would have totally freaked him out. So I knew things were shifting for him, and I started alongside him. I'm really kind of sensitive to supplements. They make me feel sick a lot of the time. Here's me as very, very overweight, round, miserable pregnant person. I had preeclampsia. This is Gabe in there. I used to have to take my prenatal and go lay down before I threw it back up. So to take another supplement, I was, and to give it to my baby, my son was 1 at the time when I saw the specialist. I needed to join him in that and just make sure it wasn't something that was going to make him sick. Then he couldn't verbalize that. And I'm happy to say that today he is so bright, amazing. He's in regular school. He has a girlfriend. I can't believe it. He's 15. And I think his health picture would be very different if we hadn't learned about this simple solution that I'm about to share with you. And I want to just say really quickly that my pregnancy at 26 with Gabe was so different than my pregnancy with my little Izzy at 36, 10 years later. And you can see the difference was literally huge. I had no preeclampsia with my other 2 pregnancies, and they were so much healthier because my gut was so much better. So the recommendation that doctor shared with me 14 years ago was a product called Juice Plus, and it's a wonderful way to just flood our body with plants. We can flood our body with 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries with the capsule trio right here. And then if you add the complete shake, it's another 15 plants. And then if you add the omega, it would be I think it's 6 different seeds and oils. So Juice Plus is really unique. It is whole food. So it's it has a food label. It's all those phytonutrients are intact. It's just juiced and dried fruits and vegetables. And so we're getting all of those wonderful tens of thousands of phytonutrients. And every plant has a different set of those. So it's not just like, 10,000. We're getting so many different phytonutrients, or plant nutrients. It's non-GMO, it's dairy-free and gluten-free. It's also NSF certified. So this was huge for me, kind of being a nerd. I really wanted that third party out there looking at what's in it to make sure it was pure. So it's checked to be pure of pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, molds. I mean, the list is long, and that they certify that what's on the label is actually in the product. So there have actually been things like turmeric supplements tested, and there is zero turmeric in the supplement. So with NSF, you are getting that amazing guarantee, and only about 1% of supplements pass NSF certification. So that's huge. And then they took it even further and they do clinical studies. So at this point, it's actually over close to 45 different clinical studies that are double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized, and peer-reviewed. And they show amazing things like it helps support cardiovascular wellness, supports the immune system, improves gum tissue health, higher and tighter attachment of the gums to the teeth, which is huge, reduces oxidative stress, reduces inflammation, protects DNA, healthier skin. They've looked at it in childhood obesity, quality of life in cancer survivors, and they've even looked at it in smokers. And the oxidative stress is the thing that got the doctor that recommended it to me her attention. She said, it's been clinically proven to reduce oxidative stress by 75%. So we're taking all of those oxidative hits from our environment and what we're eating and different things and reducing that by 75%. The body can actually get in front of things like inflammation. And we saw that in several inflammation studies. But there's awesome, really exciting ongoing research. And in fact, they're looking at gut intestinal permeability and feeding the microbiota. And this is some of the preliminary findings that these poor participants, they starved them for 10 hours and only gave them the Juice Plus capsules that has very little carbs, but it has a ton of different, those phytonutrients and polyphenols. And they saw that the microbiome actually created new polyphenols that weren't even in Juice Plus from their own synthesis, because they synthesize things for us. So it actually is being proven to be a prebiotic and a probiotic, and it's really super exciting. So again, the nerd in me is like, I can't wait for that stuff to be published and go dive into that. But there are some people out there that are like purists, and they're like, I'm not taking a supplement. I don't care. I'm just going to do everything from scratch myself. And honestly, I've gone through those phases. I make my own crackers, things like that. And I want to just point that this company is all about getting fruits and vegetables into people, free for kids. And they don't care how it's done. So if you want to grow your own, there's a great solution as well through our Tower Garden. It's an aeroponic growing system that grows 30% faster, 3 times faster, and grows 30% more produce than growing in like even the best organic soil. They looked at this at the University of Mississippi, which is the lead agricultural college in the nation. No dirt, no digging or weeding, and 90% less water used and 90% less space. Excuse me, frog. So I love that it's easy and affordable and the whole family can get into it. So here's my son. When we were homeschooling, we did a lot of projects around the Tower Garden. These are some of our towers. And he's, photobombing his purple cauliflower that he was so proud of. So it's really a fun way to kind of, do it yourself. But if Juice Plus seems like the simple solution, I am so excited to just let you know that it's so affordable. Oh my gosh. It's $2.38 a day for the trio. I actually bought an organic peach in season, and it was $2.50 for the one peach. So with Juice Plus, you're getting the nutrition from 30 different fruits, veggies, and berries for $2.38 a day. And our complete shakes are about $2 a serving. So that's super inexpensive as well. And some people, really are looking to dive off the deep end and, totally transform their health and just have a program. We have an incredible program called the Shred 10. It's a 10-day jumpstart. There's private Facebook group, e-resources, and all kinds of group coaching that goes along with that. And it's doing 2 shakes a day and the trio. So again, a very affordable way to jumpstart your health with a program. And then again, we just really want to invite you to take advantage of the free resources in our healthy living community. If that's what speaks to you today, go to the Healthy Living website, the Healthy Living Revolution website, and you can get the free cookbooks. There's a great kids program. There's live events that are ongoing, and then there's continuing education. And then we also have a private Facebook group that can just be here along your journey and support you. So we just invite you to just join us, and whoever invited you will be reaching out to see what kind of what you'd like to be involved in. And we are excited for you. So I will leave you with this. If you these are your three choices in a sense. If you just love the idea of some free resources, definitely, join the Healthy Living Revolution, download some of the things there. There's even a home fitness series that's all free. So workouts from home. Amy's a certified personal trainer, and so she does HIIT workouts too, but there's some great HIIT workouts on there. And so we just really want to invite you to take that free resource. If you need a program and you're, looking for some help or just a one simple change, Juice Plus, just adding that can be a great insurance policy. Or doing the Shared 10, that's, an awesome way to get started on a major shift. And then if you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I need to, this person needs to know about this. We'd like to just kind of invite you for this, the road less traveled. And we'd love to just tell you more about what we do as a community and how we can change lives together. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And thank you, Aimee, for sharing with us today. And there's that beautiful baby girl.
She let me actually talk the whole time. So
yeah. Oh, she's
it was so fun.
Yay. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.